The night footy was exciting because it was something new, something most of us hadn't seen. It was on television, and as Collingwood did well through the 79 night series, Collingwood supporters got more and more interested in it.
Well, I think you've got to relate it to the fact that we were sort of missed in 77 and it had been a long gap, 58 before then. Admittedly, they're day grand finals, but just to sort of have a premiership cup of any type was getting pretty important.
Everything was there, we just wanted to win, and Tommy really put that into our minds. It doesn't matter who you're playing or where you're playing, whether it was marbles down the road or whatever it is, he wanted to win everything.
He wanted success, there's no doubt about it. Even in the night series he wanted success, and we were sort of all for that.
It's hard to remember just how intense the pressure was on the club by that point, because they'd lost grand finals in so many different ways, and the whole collywobbles thing had become a reality.
It was going to be a big game because, you know, we were obviously chasing a trophy and we hadn't won a trophy for a long, long time. So it was pretty important to a lot of players.
It's bizarre when you think about it now. You think about us playing Hawthorn on Saturday, and then we front up again 3 days later and play them again. The sports scientists wouldn't allow it, or if they did, they'd be completely reserves teams.
I don't remember it doing us any harm, because you play 2 hours, you train for 2 hours. I know it's a bit more physical and things like that, but you're still doing the same thing you do with training. So I didn't find it. Matter of fact, as I said, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think at that stage I was a sort of student teacher, so that was okay. But yeah, for some guys, you know, you'd sort of be there till 11 o'clock, 11:30. You probably wouldn't get home till midnight. And after playing, it was very hard to get to sleep.
Well, umpire Bill Della coming in to put play underway in the grand final of the 1979 Escort Australian Football Championships. It's the Hawks and the Magpies from VFL Park, and wherever you're watching, we hope you're going to enjoy the match.
Hawthorn were a very strong team. They were a very physical team. They had Don Scott, they had Lee Matthews. You know, they virtually had champion players on every line.
We really gave it to them on the Saturday, I think, and they changed a few blokes, and we changed a few blokes.
I mean, we had a pretty strong team in those days, and we had some good backup players. So if somebody was injured, other players could step in.
Yeah, Renee Kink was suspended on the Saturday. Look, I was probably one of his best mates. And, you know, he was disappointed. But, you know, as I said, in the spur of the moment on a Saturday game, you're not thinking about what's going to happen on the Tuesday.
Although it wasn't unusual for Kinky to get reported. He used to like throwing them around.
I remember Banksy coming in and, you know, skinny little kid, and, well, little kid, he was 6'3" or something, but, you know, you compare him and Kinky, it was like, you know, the father-son, really. It was, he was only a really lean type of player, but he was you know, he's a good player. And he you know, he didn't set the world on fire, but he did his job.
They weren't a team of stars necessarily, but with Hafey's heroes, you got heart.
As they trail Hawthorn by 5 points in the grand final of the Escort Australian Football Championships. Wherever you're watching around Australia, hope you're enjoying it. Shot for goal by Anderson, looks pretty good. 4 points, Collingwood in front.
Oh, you know, I was always reasonably confident that, you know, we could get over them, and just after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you know, once the game got going, you know, they started well, but I was always pretty confident we would be able to peg them back.
Generally a pretty physical game at the start of the game. You know, it's always a tough game, those grand finals. People come out fired up. We were fired up, and I think Hawthorn were fired up.
The backline won the game for us. I think Peter Mack was BAG by 1,000 miles. He was fantastic. Anyone they put on him, he just slaughtered them, so he had a real big game.
He was just one of those efficient, no frills, but really effective fullbacks, really, really good defender.
Yeah, look, just had one of those nights, the ball seemed to follow me a bit. I'd sort of be out by myself and somehow a miss kick had come out that way. I remember once I went to punch the ball and the ball sort of went up in the air and I grabbed it and they paid a mark for that. I'm thinking, wow, this could be a good night for me.
They're only effective forward so far in the evening, but McCormack comes out like the spirit of progress, and that typifies the Collingwood defence tonight.
Yeah, they were getting plenty of shots at goal in the first half. But then I think, yeah, in the second half we felt we were sort of coming forward and we're kicking a lot of goals. And I think once players got in front and we're heading towards the last quarter, we were pretty confident we were playing well.
Over the head of Betts and also Austin, Brewer. Brewer's on his own. Nobody within 5 metres. He's got a chance to steady. That's going pretty close. It's a goal.
It's Worthington taking it. Oh, well, it doesn't really matter now. There's the song. The Escort Championship for 1979.
everyone was really happy. And went around being captain, I went around and congratulated every person in that team that I could grab hold of, and it just showed us how tight-knit we were. We were a very tight-knit group, and it was just real refreshing that we were able to get over the line and soak it all up.
The crowd was so loud when Collingwood were up on gearing up to get their Premiership Cup on stage. They welcomed up the VFL boss at the time, Dr. Alan Aylett, and he was booed so loudly, I remember that. But even louder than that, the booing of the Hawthorn Football Club when they were meant to get their commiserations didn't come from the Collingwood supporters, they booed, and then the roar when Collingwood actually got the cup was extraordinary.
I remember they got Ray Shaw up. I think it might have been Ray Shaw up to get the Escort Cup, the actual Premiership Cup for that.
I think in the presentation I said we're after number 2 now. So, and history tells we missed by 5 points.
This is just number 1. Number 2's next.
And at that point, I was completely convinced that the jinx was over. That was the end of our run of bad luck in finals and grand finals, and that this was the turning point, that somehow winning this night grand final would set us up.
You know, as one of those kids there, you look back and you say, that really meant something at the time, and it did. And I think what Collingwood wanted to do was to shake off any sort of feeling that they couldn't win a premiership.
Yeah, the joy in some of the Collingwood faces, the fact that they've actually won a grand final, that was a big thing. I remember a lot of people coming on the ground, they're coming up to the players. You know, they wanted to be in there pretty close with us.
We all knew it wasn't the real thing, but when you haven't had any premiership for 21 years, you take whatever comes along, and we celebrated it hard.